Hi everyone, this is Sophia from the Unfair Advantage, and we have a really special guest today, Krista, and she just graduated from UNC. Do you have anything else to add, Krista?
No, hey guys, I am Krista. Like she said, I am 22 years old. So I was UNC Chapel Hill class of 2020. I think I'm the oldest person you guys have had on so far. I was listening to the other ones and I was like, dang, I'm old. Like I had to go and think back to my high school experience. But yeah, I'm now working on my master's degree at UNC Charlotte in healthcare administration.
That's awesome. So, since you graduated from UNC, we'll start off the beginning of the call, you walking us through your high school year, so freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year, and how was that like? What did you do for extracurriculars? And then afterwards, you could also do the same for your freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year of UNC.
Yeah, totally. So in high school, I am from a pretty small town in North Carolina. So we didn't have too many things really. I know a lot of people have like the IB programs and stuff like that, but we didn't really have all that. So my freshman year, I was a cheerleader. I was a JV cheerleader, and then I also did competitive dance outside of school. So those were kind of my extracurriculars my freshman year. And then I also did have the opportunity to volunteer at a hospital my freshman year. I did that for a summer because I really wanted to be a dermatologist. So I really thought I wanted to, go to med school, do the whole pre-med route. So that was kind of what I did my freshman year. And I also took all honors classes my freshman year. I didn't start with AP or anything like that. But then my sophomore year of high school, I again was a cheerleader. That's this time I got bumped up to varsity. I started taking my first AP classes. I really only took a total of like 4 AP classes. I did do well on all those classes. I got all A's my all 4 years of high school in AP honors, everything. So my GPA unweighted was a 4.0 when I graduated. Again, my sophomore year, I had the same opportunity to volunteer at a hospital. So that was really just clerical work, which advice I would give you is even if it's something you don't necessarily want to do, like I was working in outpatient surgery and I was basically just filing their paperwork. But on my resume, I could really spin it to make it seem like I was really, working hard in the administrative area of a hospital. So yeah, I had my first few AP classes. I was a cheerleader. I was volunteering at a hospital. And then my junior year is where I kind of started to pump it up a little bit because I was preparing and starting to apply to colleges. I took a few more AP classes. I took AP US History, which I loved. So I actually ended up minoring in history in college because I kind of fell in love with history a little bit. Again, I was a varsity cheerleader. I was also working part-time, so I was no longer doing competitive cheer and dance because it was just kind of too much. And then I also started doing a dual enrollment program my junior year of high school where I took classes at a local community college. So I was half enrolled in high school at this point, half enrolled in college classes. I ended up taking like some basic biology, sociology, psychology, statistics, and I went into college with about 30 to 40 hours already completed. So maybe a little less than that. I was about a semester and a half ahead by the time I got into college. Another thing I did my junior year is I was in AP Lang, and my teacher asked me if I wanted to be in a writing club. So I did also join a writing club my junior year, and I was able to win a national championship with that, with fictional writing. We basically just went to a city nearby. There was like a couple, like probably like 50 students, and we all wrote a essay with the same prompt, very similar to how you would write for the AP Lang exam. And then I actually ended up winning with my team. So that was, I think, looked good on my college applications. I think I was pretty good at my college essays. I was a pretty good writer, which is super beneficial. Junior year, I took the ACT. I took it twice. First time I got a 30. Second time I got a 31. So I did not do that much better, but I did better. And my goal when taking the ACT, I was like, I just want above a 30. So then the first time when I took it, I got a 30. I was like, okay, well, I would just want one more point, and that's what I did. And I took the SAT. Like I said earlier, I'm old, y'all. So I think you grade the SAT differently now. But I got a 1920, which I think was in like the 92nd percentile or something like that my junior year. And then again, like I said, I got all A's all throughout high school. I graduated with a 4.83 weighted GPA, so with the college classes, the AP classes, and then 4.0 unweighted, so I never got below an A. Senior year, kind of wrapping things up, I think I was already admitted into college, or I had already applied, so I was just waiting to get in. A few other things that I did my senior year, I again was a varsity cheerleader. I again was dual enrolled at a college. At this point, I was just trying to get more college credit to save money going into college. And I also was part of a club called National Honor Society. I think a lot of people have this, but my senior year, I was able to get on the exec board, and we had to do a big community project. So me and everyone else in the exec board, we did like this free local library thing. So we basically built and set up little library houses. You guys have probably seen them before in our little town in North Carolina. And we set up like 5 around different areas, like outside of Dairy Queens and whatnot, where you can kind of like take a book, leave a book kind of thing. So that was a big community project that I did my senior year. And then through doing that, my senior year, I was able to get a scholarship going to UNC just from my high school. It was a small local scholarship, but through doing that community project, I was able to do that. So that's pretty much high school. So do you want me to go ahead and jump right into my college years?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah. So like I mentioned, I went to UNC wanting to be pre-med. I thought I was going to be a doctor, like I think a lot of people do. And then got into UNC. I lived in a dorm. I did all that good stuff. I went in as a biology major, actually. And then I started kind of taking classes. And the summer after my freshman year, I got my CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant, so that I could start getting clinical hours to go to med school. And then I was also kind of teetering with PA school as well. So my freshman year, I became a CNA and I started working in the clinical side of things. I got a little job as a home health nurse in Chapel Hill. And I quickly learned the clinical side was 100% not for me. I don't want to touch people. I don't want to do any of that. I found myself, I still love medical, and obviously I want to be part of the medical community, but I didn't want to actually do the clinical stuff, and that's okay. Like, people don't always know what they want to do, and this was at this point, by the time I really figured out that I didn't want to be a doctor, I was a junior in college. So honestly, I didn't do too much besides work and school in college because, you do have a lot going on. I was trying to balance a social life. I also was working part-time, mainly remotely. I know things are going to be a lot different for you guys because of COVID. I was lucky enough COVID only affected me my second semester of my senior year. That's when everything started and we had to go virtual, but I did get the full college experience the first 3.5 years. So anyway, my junior year, that's when I decided I did not want to do clinical. So I started searching programs where I could be involved in a hospital, be involved in clinical, taking care of people, but not touch them, not deal with blood, because I actually found out I was very queasy being a CNA, which probably isn't going to go well together if I did go to med school. So I found the Master of Health Administration, which is what I am working on now. I'm a semester in, so I've got 1.5 years left. It's a 2-year program. I'm at UNC Charlotte, so I just moved 2 hours outside of Chapel Hill. But the application process for that was pretty simple. You don't have to apply until your senior year. I actually worked as a research assistant. This is some good advice. As soon as I got into college, my freshman year, I started looking for research experience because I knew that looked really good on resumes and I wanted to get published potentially. So I started emailing professors and things like that. And one got back to me and she needed a research assistant. So my whole freshman through senior year of college, I worked under this one professor. We gained an amazing relationship. She actually had to go teach abroad one semester and I lived in her house while she was gone. My neuroscience professor needed someone to watch her house, beautiful, huge house, 2 minutes walking distance to campus. So I got to live in her house for a summer semester, take care of things for her. We became really close, and it was because my freshman year, I immediately was on the ball, like looking for opportunities and things to do. So that's how I was working. I also got promoted in that position. And one summer I worked for her 40 hours a week, paid position. It was usually volunteering, but I got to be paid for a summer. I got to work on huge clinical research projects, which gave me a lot of administrative experience. So that's kind of how I learned that I liked the business side of healthcare. I like healthcare. I like, working with people, but not being clinical. So I learned that I'm really good at organizing things. I'm really good with data analysis. I'm really good with money, numbers. And so I figured I could do the business side of healthcare. So again, I know I'm kind of getting all jumbled together, but that's how I became interested in health administration. So my senior year, I applied to that program. It required 3 letters of recommendation, 2 of which I got one from the professor that I was working with and the other from a lab manager. So that lab, working with them really helped me because they were really my mentors throughout college. And then you do have to take the GRE. Obviously, for medical school, you have to take the MCAT, law school is the LSAT, things like that. The GRE, I would honestly compare to the SAT. Very easy, like if you do well on the SAT and then you go to a good college and you take difficult classes, the GRE shouldn't be very difficult for you. It's basic grammar, writing, and then a little bit of math. I had to brush up a little bit on my math because it was like geometry literally from high school, which once you graduate high school, you'll get into calculus and you'll leave all that behind. So I brushed up on that. Did good on the GRE, and my GPA was not competitive getting into grad school because I wasted a lot of time taking pre-med courses that I didn't like. So a lot of my stuff, I didn't get the best grades in chemistry and things like that. So I wasn't that competitive when it came to GPA, but I was super competitive when it came to my GRE score as well as my experience. And so that's where I am now, UNC Charlotte, working on my Master of Health Administration.
So I have a few questions for you if you would like to answer.
Yeah.
So throughout your high school and college years, how did you really manage your time? Because I know in high school you had APs and cheer, and then college you also had a lot of classes to take, plus your research position.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think everyone is super different. I am extremely type A. So for me, it's all about organization. It's all about having a written planner. She's always with me, literally at all times. Like, I'm a time blocker, so let me think about high school, right? So our bell rang at 7:10 a.m. That's when we had to be in our seat. So I would do my thing pretty much all day, and then I would have cheer until 4:30. I would also end up staying after school sometimes. Like, school was not too difficult for me, but I did have to work at it. So I would stay after school a lot for like my AP stats class. I would go after cheer practice to the teacher. They are sadly often still there until 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I would get any help that I would need. I would also go in early a lot. My mom was a elementary school teacher, so she had to get up early anyway. So I would go to the high school early and sit in my AP stats class and work on the homework from the night before with my teacher there. It's really just about dedication, and it's really about wanting to do it. You're not going to be able to do it if you don't have the motivation to do it. So, when I got a bad grade on a test, that lit a fire under me pretty much every single time. So if I got a bad grade on a test, until the next test, I was at school early every day working with my teacher on things that I needed to improve on. It's not necessarily fun, and I know it seems like it's your whole entire life, but it really does go by fast. And looking back on it, like, I would do anything to give someone that advice, because one semester of going in early is going to go by so quickly.
Do you think going in early to your teacher's room gave you like a relationship with them?
Yeah, definitely. I think teachers like people who put in that extra step. I would be the only one there, me and like one other person who was usually my friend, because we were both there early. I don't think a lot of people do that. So if you are putting in that extra step, say you need a letter of recommendation, I guarantee in that letter, they're going to talk about how she put in the extra hours and she got here at 6:30 a.m. when no one else did.
And speaking of recommendations of letters, do you have any tips for students to get a good one? Like, what should you give a brag sheet to your teacher, or any tips?
Yeah, I definitely think I'm trying to think, I can't even remember who wrote my letters of recommendation for college. I think I had my AP language teacher write me one. And I think the best thing to do is definitely, if you don't have the best relationship with them, so if they don't know you well, but say you succeeded in their class, they want to help you. So send them an email, explain, tell them you're shy, tell them that's why you don't talk very much in their class, but you really want to get into this college and you know how hard you've worked in their class, compliment them a little bit, tell them how much you love their class, tell them your favorite part of their class. And then I do think you should send them a resume and a cover letter of some type. So something that, because a resume is very database. So it's going to say, this is my job, this is what I do at my job, things like that. But I think a cover letter, something more deep, something a little bit more relatable, talking about, I want to go to school and I want to be a nurse because of this. This is my passion. Then that kind of helps them get to know you a little bit better.
So now let's move it back to like your high school years. And when did you find out that you wanted to go into the health field?
Yeah, I kind of always thought my whole life that I wanted to go into the health field. I don't really know what it was. I think my mom was a teacher, my dad was a pilot, and I kind of always looked up to doctors. And when I would I spent a lot of time in a dermatologist office as a kid because I had skin problems. And I always just really looked up to them. I think when you're growing up, you think there's teachers, lawyers, doctors, and like that's all you've ever heard of. So I think people idolize these careers and that's what they think they want to do. And you don't even realize, even in high school, I don't think I realized how many other aspects of healthcare there really is. So once I kind of realized like, hey, I can do business and healthcare and combine it together, I was like, that's my passion for healthcare and for helping people and who I look up to, but also my strengths, which is business, administration, numbers, and you can combine them. So I really think my whole life I looked up to doctors and I thought it was an amazing career. And then I kind of figured out how I could make that happen for me, but in my own way.
Did you know that you wanted to also incorporate business in your high school years, or was that when you found out in college?
I definitely found that out in college because in high school, I was doing perfectly fine. Like I didn't really have trouble in many of my classes. I was really motivated. I really wanted to get into a good college. So I had a fire. I was like ready to do it. And then when I got to college, I think a lot of people go through this, but I kind of burnt out honestly a little bit on the education start part of things. I was pretty tired. My classes were super hard, the weed out classes, as they call them. They definitely got to me a little bit. And I just wasn't enjoying the sciences. And then in college, that is when I became a CNA and started getting that clinical experience and because I thought that's what I wanted to do. So that's when I really started being able to be hands-on. And that's when I realized, okay, hold on, I don't like this. So I had to totally change things. That's when I ended up changing my major. I started working, I quit the job as a CNA because I realized I didn't like that. And then I started thinking about how I could do administration and business and also healthcare. So it was definitely a learning process for me. I didn't change my major until the end of my sophomore year. So I went 2 years thinking, I was going to apply to med school. And then by the time I'm a junior, that's when I kind of had to change my life in a way because my whole life I thought I wanted to be a doctor. But that's totally normal. People go through that all the time. I had people change their majors 5 times that I knew. I had people who went in as a journalism major and never changed it. So everyone is on their own path and you just really have to learn, and you're going to learn through experience. You're not going to learn through just, basic papers and classes. It's more so through experience that you're going to be able to learn.
Yeah, I also agree that life is just full of exploring everything and figuring out what you're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going on to your college years, why did you want to go to UNC, and then I think UNC Charlotte after that for grad school. Why did you choose those?
So I applied to, I think, 5 different colleges when I was in high school. And my honestly, UNC was the best school that I got into. It was the best school that I applied to. I stayed mainly with local schools. I didn't want to go too far away. Some other schools I got into all the schools I applied to. I got into USC, Clemson, state schools like that. And I ended up choosing UNC because when I toured the campus, I fell in love with just the vibe of everything. It has this very old, elegant feel to it. And also, I didn't really know that many people going to UNC, pretty much no one from my high school, a couple people, but I never saw them, got into UNC. So that was kind of a good thing. I was like ready to not go too far away because I wanted to stay near my family, but I did want to kind of get away in some aspect. And also, like I said, UNC is a really great school. I fell in love with the campus. That's completely why I wanted to go to UNC. UNC, anyone's thinking about it, it's beautiful. The basketball season, when you can actually fully experience it, is amazing. My freshman year, we won the national championship. Still to this day, one of the funnest nights ever. It's a great school. You are going to meet a lot of really great professors. You're going to be challenged, but you're also going to meet some really great friends and have a really great time. But UNC Charlotte, I chose to go to this one because I applied to 4 MHA programs, and UNC Charlotte, funny enough, was the only in-person program that I applied to. And I decided that I thought I would get the best out of my education if I went for an in-person program. So I committed to UNC Charlotte. And then some other schools I applied to were Cincinnati, George Mason, which is in Washington, D.C., UNC Asheville, and then I ended up at Charlotte because it was in person. All the others were online, which I didn't fully want to do. But funny enough, I'm online now, and I have been for the whole year because of COVID. So I guess everything happens for a reason, but that is why I chose to go to UNC Charlotte.
So for those schools, what do you think was the strongest part of your application?
For college or for grad school?
For both.
For college, I think I was a really competitive applicant because of my GPA and my academic history. Like I said, I think I did. I got all A's in all my AP classes. I aced all of the AP exams. I had college class experience around, I can't remember, but it was like 20 to 40, somewhere in there, hours worth of college classes that I had gotten all A's in. And I think that I did really good in that aspect of things. I was well-rounded, of course, as well, but I do think I was a strong academic student. Grad school is like the complete opposite story. I was not as strong of an academic applicant, but I think I was so well-rounded. For grad school, you don't write essays. You write a personal statement. So you don't have a prompt or anything, but you just write a personal statement, basically where you tell them about your journey and why you want to go to grad school and why you want to go to their program. And like I said, that professor that I had a really great relationship with, me and her sent my personal statement back to each other probably like 10 times. I would make an edit, send it to her. She would tear it apart for me again, send it back. I would make an edit. So I think my personal statement was really, really strong because I had to explain why I wasn't necessarily succeeding as strongly on the academic side of things. I did fine, like I graduated, like I'm good, but I wasn't as strong of an applicant, like I said. And then also in grad school, when applying to grad school, I had really great background in clinical research, which is very administrative. So I had 4 years worth of clinical research plus a full-time paid summer of clinical research, which is a big deal. And I also had hospital volunteering experience. I did that my junior year of college as well. I had experience working in clinicals, or I had a way to say, I've combined all these things together, and I know this is what I want to do. And I think something to do when you're applying to college and to grad school is to put in a little blurb in your essay or your personal statement or whatever it is, saying why you want to go to their program. So like for me, you have to be like, UNC Chapel Hill is my dream. Don't say my dream school, but you just have to talk about specifically their program. If you wanted to go to the UNC Business School, you can look up some stats about the business school and be like, UNC Keenan Flagner School of Business is where I want to be because of this, this, and this. So I just think for grad school for me, it was how well-rounded I was. And then for my undergrad applying, it was because of how good of an academic student that I was.
So throughout your college, you had a lot of opportunities like research positions and helping in a clinical area. Do you have any tips for students that want to look for opportunities, and how did you find them?
Yeah, I think Google will be your best friend. UNC, if you go there or want to go there, actually has a undergraduate research database where professors will post ads if they need a research assistant. That was how we ended up finding a lot of our other research assistants. So I'm sure other schools have very similar things, but it's literally a database. You can just search it, UNC Chapel Hill undergraduate research database. And then it will have like what major you want to do research under, and you can click. So like for me, I think I clicked neuroscience or something. And that is when the lab ad came up, and it says like looking for a undergraduate research assistant to work 10 to 15 hours a week. They do probably get quite a few applicants, but I say go the extra mile and figure out who the professor is who's doing the research. Send them an email. I just think you have to make yourself stand out, and don't be afraid to like be heard. Like you want to send them that extra email, reach out to them, and then you are going to be more likely to be seen, because if they're searching through 10 different resumes, you want them to remember your name. When it comes to the clinical experience and volunteering in the hospital, UNC Hospital was super easy to start volunteering in. They literally just have an online application, and they always are needing volunteers. So I actually was able to volunteer in the burn unit for a little bit, and then I also volunteered in the gastrointestinal unit, actually, both of them in administrative positions, though, not clinical. But like I said, even getting an administrative position is good because you can twist it to talk about how much you learned and saw from the nurses and doctors and things like that. So yeah, UNC hospitals just had a online application. And then as to work as a CNA, there's a few different positions you can work as in college, but that you have to get extra certifications for. So a nurse aide, I did a summer hybrid course. It was 5 weeks, and I was able to work as a nurse aide in a hospital or home health care situation. This is hands-on clinical experience, because if you want to go to PA school, for example, you have to have 1,000 hours of clinical experience. So that is super important. You can also try and find jobs as medical scribes and things like that. But I think a CNA is a good one if you are wanting to get clinical experience, because there is a shortage and people are always looking for CNAs.
So throughout college, you did a lot of medical experience. Did you do anything outside of the medical areas?
In college, not really, honestly. I think the clinical research was a little bit more administrative. And I did do the hospital volunteering. Honestly, most of my stuff was very focused on medical. I guess I did one semester of a research project that I was a volunteer on. It was actually in the history department because, like I mentioned, that was my minor. Your minor is really just something that you're kind of passionate about, that you want to take some extra classes on. So mine was history, and I ended up actually getting to work in the UNC like photo library of old developed film that they had not fully developed yet. So you had to like look at it through the little thing, and I had to categorize the women's athletics from the early days because the women's athletics had never been categorized, only the men's. So that was kind of a history project that I got to work on. I threw that on my resume. That also looked pretty good on there as well.
So I have one last question before we end this off. We have a community that helps students with a leverage in college admissions, financial success, and career aspirations. And my last question is, what is one piece of advice you want to give to high school students that you feel like would give them an unfair advantage for them to know at the time?
If I could go back and tell my type A self anything in high school, it would be to relax. I really think that you guys got to understand that no one really has it figured out. Everyone is a human being, and whatever happens for a reason. I had no idea I was going to go to UNC Chapel Hill. I had no idea I was going to get a master's degree. Things just kind of fell into place. And I know it's really stressful and there's a lot of pressure on you to like, everyone's asking you like, where are you going to college? How are college applications? But like, just take a deep breath, relax. Whatever happens really does happen for a reason. And if you guys are watching this right now, if you guys are part of this unfair advantage, then you already have an advantage because you're doing more than a lot of other people probably already are.
That was some really great advice. And with that, you'll have like 30 seconds to promote your social media and everything.
Yes, awesome. So I do, I'm on Instagram at Krista Kennedy. I also have a YouTube channel, Krista Kennedy, where I talk a lot about grad school. I have a UNC Chapel Hill pros and cons video over there. So definitely go subscribe to the YouTube channel. I post twice a week on there, vlogs and stuff like that, if you guys are into that kind of stuff.
And is your YouTube channel just Krista Kennedy?
Yep, just Krista Kennedy.
Okay, I'll make sure to put that in the description.
Hey, thank you.
And thanks everyone for watching, and thank you for your time. Bye, guys.